Today's messing about is assisted by Grandpa's Sweater Oatmeal Stout from Barnhammer Brewing in Winnipeg. It's a fairly standard oatmeal stout in the Irish tradition. Roasty, malty, what more do you want? I'm hoping this is going to be a fairly quick repair video tonight. Some of you who have been around for a long time may remember this light. It's just a basic little magnetic swivel light that I picked up at the dollar store, but I modified it in that video up there in the corner to be rechargeable. Originally it ran on 3 AA batteries, I guess, but I modified it to run on this salvaged lithium cell that I pulled out of a what are those things, a vape thing that I found on the street. And then I just put this little charging board in there to deal with the charging, and the rest of it is exactly the same. However, lately it's been misbehaving. I think you can see that those LEDs clearly aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Even though the voltage on the battery is more than enough to power it. That's with it turned on, and that's with it shut off. So it is. And even if it's fully charged, which it's been discharged a little bit since I've been messing around with it already, but even at that, the LED should run. And after having it turned on for a little while, it does brighten up some, but as you can see, it is still flickering and being goofy, and it's not nearly as bright as it ought to be. So I think what I'm going to do is replace that LED, which again is not the high-techest of projects, but it's something I gotta do, so I figured I'd bring you guys along with me. And this light is held together with 4 screws, and if I remember correctly, when I release those, then this should divide on the line there, knocking it out of the yoke and making it a real pain to put back together, but it gives me access to the LED. Something like that. So here's what's inside the thing. There's just the switch, this little LED panel, which is standard 3-point-whatever volt LED, and then a little resistor. When I say little, I don't mean in wattage, I mean in ohms. It is about 1.5 ohms thereabouts. When this is running, the voltage drop across the resistor is about 0.8 volts. The voltage drop across the LED panel is about 2.7. So I think pretty much any white LED should do. It's just a matter of finding one in my accumulation that's going to fit the job, both physically and electrically. So I could do some math and stuff, but who wants to do that? I'm just going to set my power supply to 4 volts and 200 milliamp current limit, turn it on, and we'll see what this thing wants to draw. Wow. It's current limiting at 0.5 amp. Really? Okay, there's just a little bit of a glow coming from it, and it's drawing 0.5 amp. Wow. I mean, no wonder it was so bright when it was new, but on the other hand, that's a lot. And yeah, that's kind of warm. I think I'm going to replace that. Well, obviously I'm going to replace it, but let's find something in my collection. The first and laziest idea that comes in is just to use one of these USB LEDs it takes 5 volts in, it's got a resistor already, and it's got 3 LED chips on it. Let's see what happens if we give that the same 4 volts. Well, that's got some brightness to it. So if we just replace the resistor and that with this, that could do the job. But what happens if it gets down closer to the fully discharged? Okay, so that's 3 volts and it's still relatively bright. That's an option. Let's see what else I've got. Here's a bin of non-standard shapes and types of LEDs. These ones are 12 volt. They're automotive. Those are automotive. They're also 12 volt. Oh, here's some of these filaments. Those might work. We got 1 watt. It says cool white there. Some Piranha LEDs. Those are just as bright as a normal LED. I don't think so. These are RGB. I don't think that's what I want. Those are mains. What are these ones? Well, these are higher voltage. Oh, what is this? That looks almost exactly like the same shape. That one's got less chips in it than this one, but maybe that'll work. So I spun that back up to 4 volts, and I've dropped the current down to about 50 milliamps, just so I don't completely blow anything up. Nothing's happening. Am I drawing any current? No. So I'm just messing with it. That thing at 20 milliamps wants about 9 volts, so that's not going to work for us. Fine, put that out of the way. Let's try one of these filaments. So now drop down to about 4 volts, and what have I got? About 50 milliamps current emitting. That's something, but I think I can go higher. 100 milliamps current emitting. It's 100 milliamps. That's fairly bright. I think I can go brighter, but I'm not going to blow it up just experimenting right now. Set that aside, and let's try this one. These are just a 1 watt LED, so it should be relatively bright, I think. Oh yeah, that's the brightest of all of them. Wow, okay. At least I think that's the brightest of all of them. I don't know, I've got spots in my eyes. Do I have a way of testing this? Hang on. Some time has passed and I've remembered that I do have this little Unity light meter. And I've done a little bit of butchery. I've got a piece of black foam core on there. And I've got this, it's just a piece of flashing with another circle of foam core on there. So if I hold that guy over there, you see what I'm doing is I'm putting some distance in there and I'm excluding external light. So hopefully if I shine my test light, my test subject in one end, you should be able to see the other end. Right now, with nothing in there, it's just like 30. If I cover it with my hand, it's 0. So that 30 is just the ambient light in the room. And for reference, there's my filming lights. So first we'll start with just this little USB light, which is drawing just about 60 milliamps at 4 volts. And that gives us about 1080 to 1100 lux. Next with the filament, which is about 80-ish milliamps. That's about 1900 lux. Okay. And then with this little 1 watt guy, which at the same voltage is 111 milliamps. And that's 2200, almost 2300 lux. So I think we have a clear winner. Yes, I know it's not the most scientific test in the world, but it's what I've got using the tools that I have kicking around here. And it's close enough to scientific for me. I could have done some numbers, but I prefer a much more empirical method of finding out what's going to work for me. But that does go to show the value of having multiple options available in stock for when you need to do something. And that is my answer to a lot of the questions that I get in the mailbags as to why do you keep buying all this stuff? So that I have it when I need it. I'm going to leave that resistor in there just for good measure, even though I don't think the battery's capable of supplying more current than this LED could survive, but it's not a bad measure to just keep that in there just in case. Now then we'll just put some solder on here, tin this guy up a little bit. There's a positive pad. There's a negative pad. This wire coming from the switch is the positive. So we'll put that onto there. Yes, it is a red wire. And you can usually assume that a red wire means positive, but it isn't always. But you may remember from before I put the meter on it, so I know it's positive. This thing doesn't want to stay in place. I'll just throw a bit of blue tack onto it just for good measure. And I think I want to sleeve that I don't actually have sleeving, but what I do have is some really skinny heat shrink, which will serve the purpose just fine. Melt that into place, and we should be good to go. Actually, we should be able to test it right now. Yeah! Now, the only problem left to solve is how to affix this in place, because the old one had a couple of holes on it that went over a couple little pips there. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of center that in there. And does it seem lame to double-sided tape it down? And that is an aluminum back circuit board. It is going to get warm, but I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to take a little piece of this. It's not 3M, it's just M tape, and stick it down with that. And again, this is, I think this is intended to be that VHB very high bond tape, which is incredibly tenacious, and it does hold on quite well. I've been using it for things like this for quite a while, and I've never had it release on me yet once it's stuck in. So there we go. There's that. Another mailbag from a long time ago. So there we go. Now it's just a matter of putting it all back together. I think I'm going to screw that back on there. How does this go? There's this thing which mates against one of those to keep it. Was there two of them, or was there just one of them? I think there was just one of them. So that will go in the back of one of these, I guess, like that, and then that goes in like that, and then the front plastic lens, keep the finger poking out, and then the reflector, and then I should be able to just, which way do those wires go? Like that. Yeah, that looks right. Oh wait, I need that back off to put the screws in. The screws which have been conveniently captured by the magnetic base. There, that worked. I'll just twist that back on. Which way does it go? There we go. That's nice and bright. It's still rechargeable. Cool. It may not look quite as slick as the original yellow guy did sitting in there, but it definitely fills the space and does the job. Let's actually go and see this in situ where I use it. So here is our chest freezer in the basement. There's the furnace ducting. There's where this thing normally lives. And when you're digging through the freezer for food, it's kind of dark, so this light does that. I like it. And my family will be happy that we can find stuff in there again. Well, that may not have been the most high-tech video that I've ever done, but it was a repair that I needed to do, so I figured I'd bring you along with it. Thanks for sticking through that to the end. I appreciate that. Questions and comments down below if you've got any. I will talk to you later.